Climate change has been a hot word in everybody's lives for years now. It is constantly debated on news, social media, even in friend groups sometimes. But it never seems to get past this phase of talking. With it being such a pressing matter in everybody's lives, it only seems plausible that it's to be dealt with extreme efficiency. But it isn't. This then begs the question of what we should do about climate change. Whether it's the government's job or our own, and simply what should be done to tackle this inescapable issue. I believe that governments everywhere should put this at the forefront, as it will affect everyone, but I also think that it's a job that everybody must come together to solve, instead of leaving the job to the governments. Firstly, why does climate change seem to be this impossible topic to tackle rationally, and is always just put on the back burner? Stephen M. Gardner, in his article Ethics in Global Climate Change, sums it up very well in my opinion. In his words, he states, in regard to the neglect of climate change, in my view, the most plausible explanation is that study of climate change is necessarily interdisciplinary. What he means by this is that it isn't just one type of expertise field that can solve this problem. Science is a huge field that can help, but it would come with large costs probably, so economists would also be needed to be involved with these discussions. People that are experts in law would also be needed to ensure that rules are followed in order to aid the fight against climate change. International relations are also important because if only a couple nations are following these rules, then what's even the point? This leads to what should actually be done, which can be tricky due to global opinions. Some say that we all need to take an active part in cutting emissions across the globe, while others think that only parts should shoulder the burden. William S. Lynn states in his article, The Ethics of Climate Change, What We Owe People on the Rest of the Planet, that the Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, thinks that developing countries should actually increase fossil fuel use in order to lift them out of poverty, while other more developed nations should cut back in order to offload the pollution. Personally, I don't agree. I think that all nations should work together to help reduce emissions, as it is a global issue, not a local one. So it affects everyone and should be a problem everybody should be looking at to solve instead of passing the job off to others. But how should governments work towards this fight against climate change? I believe it should be done at a slow and incremental rate as opposed to just large changes in everybody's lives overnight. While climate change is an issue that needs to be dealt with in a timely manner, we also need to look out for our own need and well-being. One issue that is always talked about is the use of gas-driven cars. Some state that we should immediately shift to electric vehicles, but that just isn't rational. Not only are electric cars very expensive at this point in time, but we also don't have the infrastructure to support that. My family just recently bought an electric car, and when they take trips from St. Louis to Purdue, there are not a lot of chargers along the road that will allow them to always use the electric car, and gas makes it much simpler and easier. On top of there not being enough chargers, my parents also ran into broken chargers at multiple stops, which only further created an obstacle. I believe if governments first sought out to update our infrastructure first, and then to push mandates to only use electric cars, it would be effective. But it would be a slow journey with an enormous price tag. This also goes along with how people would have to get involved, not just governments. People must be willing to make this change, as if they are forced to change, there will be those who choose not to follow simply due to rebelling. In total, there are tons of obstacles when it comes to solving the climate change process. From different opinions of world leaders to the logistics, it is a large burden for everybody to carry, and is even larger if only certain parts of the world take this burden on. It would have to be a slow change as well, but I believe that if enough people are educated on the topic, more will get behind the cause, and actual progress towards a safe future can be made.